All right, welcome into this live stream edition of the NFL Prospects Podcast. Received a message from Ryan earlier in the day. Said, hey, who wants to go live and talk some hot takes? Because apparently NFL Draft Twitter is off its rocker with these bizarre-ass hot takes that we're getting. Some crazy ones. I don't want to address any of the nonsense that we were reading yesterday because apparently a 19-year-old prospect regresses once he turns 21.
I think we should talk about that.
All right, let's talk about that. Ryan, I want to hear your thoughts.
I want to ask you first, Joe, because you played college football for the entirety of your career. When you were 19, was that as physically developed as you ever were in your life?
No, not even close. I showed up to camp as like this fat, pudgy little kid. I had no strength. I was a specialist in high school. I didn't really play anything else. So I was just fat and really good at snapping footballs, and I couldn't run. Like I literally could not run. Like I couldn't get my legs up. Like I was getting clowned on by people because I couldn't run. By the time I finished my pro day prep, the night and day difference between what I was able to do and the end of my pro day prep was completely different. Physically, I don't look the same way right now because I just had surgery and I got fat in a month. But the difference at the end of that pro day prep, the way that I looked compared to when I walked in the door at the University of Rhode Island, it was a completely different human being. I was 215 pounds. I was moving a lot better. I was a much more fluid athlete. Any dipshit, I'm sorry for cursing, that thinks that you're going to regress from time off has never played the sport of football, doesn't know anything about the sport of football, and has no background in working with football players. If you think that just stopping playing is going to lead to a regression, that is insane. Now, if he doesn't hit, we're going to start to hear that like, oh, we were right. We said that he was going to regress. If he doesn't hit, it's for different reasons. It's not because of the time off. It's not an issue. Stop acting like it's an issue. Guys are not playing this season, and you know what they're doing right now? They're busting their ass. An off-season conditioning program at school, and then also with a professional gym, which was a significant step up from what I was doing when I started that pro day prep at Test. That step up and what you're doing during all that is far more rigorous and better for you physically than a season of football. All a season of football does is basically break down your body and knocks the crap out of it. You're going to lose a little bit of your strength by the end of the year. So Sewell's going to be fine. He's going to be fine. And so are all these other guys who opted out and didn't play this year.
This was my biggest problem with it, okay? And that was a great rant, by the way. That was better than I expected, to be honest. You really upped your game today. No, that was a compliment.
Backhanded comment.
No, that was a compliment. That was 100% a compliment. This is my thing, though. Ready? So, obviously, the 19-year-old being, I don't even know if he was trying to say he was maxed out, whatever. That's a full conversation among himself. This is the thing, though. If you are a NFL draft evaluator, okay, half your job is not just the current state of the player. You need to determine if this player is going to be good down the road because that is your job. You're projecting a player to the next level. So your thought process is, oh, I saw him, and it's going to be a tough projection. It's going to be a tough projection in 3 years. I don't know. I don't know if teams are going to be super confident in it. They're going to look back. Like, this is a haphazard bullshit season to start with. Who cares? A lot of the tape that's being seen this year is going to get thrown out. And when you're looking at that kid and you're like, he does that. And it's not like he had 1 year of college tape, right? Like, he started for 2 years. He's 6'5", 325 plus pounds. He's a stupid athlete. Like, if you watch him on film, Penei Sewell moves so well for his size. At no point should you watch that young man and be like, like nothing for me. Like, that dude at 19 years old, right, looking at what he can do already. Can you imagine when he's 22 or 23? My response to it was, what will he be when he's 22 or 23? Better.
and
You
know what? I just want to throw into this before Alec. I'll let you share your thoughts too, what you think about it. I would be more worried about drafting somebody that had COVID over somebody who chose to play things safely because, frankly, in 3 years, maybe 10 years from now, we don't know the long-term effects. My brother right now is working on, he works in construction. He's working on a building in Queens that is supposed to help with people that have already recovered that are already developing lung issues. So why would I be less worried about drafting a guy who went out there and played and got COVID, and then in a couple years is probably going to develop or could develop some type of a lung deficiency or a heart problem. Not saying that's a lock to happen, but I would be way more worried about that than a guy who just decided to be safe and just focus on working out instead of going and playing a game that he's going to get sick if somebody is sick on the other team. Alec, what do you think about this? I'm curious to hear your. We already got a comment from. Sorry, we already got a comment from Jesse saying, "Look at Alec and his pop star hair, smile, and listen to all of Ryan's." What do you got?
Well, I just think like any evaluator worth their money would have done 19 tape on Sewell and would have done 18 tape on Sewell anyways, and seen the progression. And he had nothing to come into the season and prove anyways. He proved that he was a top prospect last year. And then to use the argument that we haven't had tape on him since he was 19, but then every year we fall in love with prospects who are young and then give them time to develop and see what they can become. A great example is like a guy like Leonard Floyd, who when he came into the league had troubles off the bat, but as he developed, he's had a pretty good year for the Rams this year. Like, so to sit there and say that like he's, to question him because we haven't had tape since he was 19 to now see what he's going to be when he's 22, 23, 24. I don't get it. The guy showed everything he had to show for this year's draft, and I would be happy taking him in the top 3.
Right.
Well, my thing is the fact that he's only 19 or 20 makes him more attractive to me personally, because that's like I could even imagine more of a projection. He's nowhere near a finished product, and with the tape that he put on, that gets me excited. Because when you're a scout, right, for a team specifically, you have to have trust in your coaching staff. Like if I'm looking at that kid and talking to the offensive line coach and he says like, I need this height, this weight, this type of player. And I say, okay, I have this kid that fits everything. And he's 19 years old. He just turned 20. Like I'd be so excited for him to work with an NFL offensive line coach. That would get me jazzed. Like I would be so excited.
All right. Can I lead us into our first hot take that we had commented on your tweet, Ryan? I'm handpicking. I'm handpicking this one because this one you probably noticed my jaw dropped about how I'm not saying it's dumb. I don't want to be mean, but what are we doing here? So from this comment is Caleb Farley has the ability to be better than Jalen Ramsey. And look, and we asked for hot takes, so I don't want to like crap on anybody. I know we were crapping on the first take that we addressed because that was kind of what inspired this. It justifiably. So people were sending us hot takes, but this is I think the hottest one on the board. I don't want to say that any of these are stupid, but I think that this one is the most outlandish on the board. Caleb Farley is a fun prospect. He's got a lot of good length. He's got long arms. He tracks receivers well. Better than Jalen Ramsey? I don't see that by any measure.
No, I'm gonna give you a take next that I think is even a little hotter, to be honest. But like,
I might have missed
so Jalen was so special at Florida State because, in all honesty, he was a better safety than he was a corner. He's that guy that literally could play any position in the defensive backfield. And I see the appeal with Caleb Farley, especially as an off-man corner who has incredible quick twitch for a 6'2 plus, 6'2 corner, 200 plus pounds, athletic kid. Like I see everything there, and I'm very excited about the prospects of Caleb Farley down the road. But the tape that he's put forth is not to the degree of a Jalen Ramsey. And then honestly, Jalen Ramsey is the ultimate eraser of a wide receiver. He is so big, so physical. He is literally a guy that you say, any wide receiver you want, number one, there he is. Go take away Mike Evans. Go take away Michael Thomas. Go take away whoever. Doesn't matter. He's the best team's eraser, no matter who he's playing. And I'm not there with Caleb Farley yet. I don't even think Caleb Farley is the best corner in this class personally. And we've talked about that a bunch at this point. So, yes, way too hot for me personally. But I would love to hear Alec because it sounds like Alec's a big Caleb Farley fan.
Oh, he is.
I've been watching a lot of Caleb Farley actually today specifically. But so I had actually thought that I thought there was a possibility him at free safety would make sense. I mean, we talked about it, and I don't know if that I don't know how certain I can be on that, but I like his length. I'm a sucker for big corners, but comparing him to Jalen Ramsey is to me too far. I do have him as a first round corner. I think I have him number 3 right now behind Horn and Surtain. So I would definitely be high enough on him to take him late first. But Ramsey was at Florida State was just dominant, and then when he got into the league, he continually proved that. Like you said, he's the island guy. You can just throw him out on any receiver. He's physical enough to press. He can play him in zone, off man. I can't see Farley being that, but that's too much to compare a guy to coming out. You're expecting too much out of him.
And I agree with what you said there. I don't know if it's so much saying that he's going to compare to him, but more so that he'll turn into that type of a corner, like that Stephan Gilmore. I think, when it comes down to the nitty gritty, we're not going to get a guy that is straight up going to shut guys down like we talked about here. I think that. Did you just say
nitty gritty because Jesse commented that?
I have no comment. Why did you ruin it? It was going to be a good bit. Ryan, the bit killer. God.
Bit killer. You know what, though? I'm about to give you the hottest take that we got in this thread. You ready? I want Joe's response here first. Ready? Kyle Trask, this is from Josh Collier, J Collier BSP. Kyle Trask will grade higher than Trey Lance by season's end.
Wait. Sorry. Say that again.
Kyle Trask will grade higher than Trey Lance by season's end.
I forgot that one was in there. I completely forgot that one was in there. By the way, Jesse agrees with my sentiment. He's telling you to shut up.
It's all disagreeing. There it is.
I don't know what you can see with Kyle Trask and think he is going to be he's worthy of like a top pick. When you look at Trey Lance, he is a prospect that is not as developed as some of these other guys, but his physical traits that if you can work with those with a good coach, he is going to excel. He has a much higher ceiling than Kyle Trask. And when you have a guy with a higher ceiling, those guys are going to be valued higher. Kyle Trask is a fine quarterback. He's a Heisman favorite right now. He's probably going to win the Heisman just based on the trajectory of storylines and how the voting works. But the thing that I've heard you say this whole time, Ryan, is that he just doesn't do anything exceptionally well. Like he gets the job done. He makes some good plays. He doesn't have a big arm. He doesn't do anything that flashes to me. I'm like, wow, this guy is going to be like a really good quarterback in the NFL. And that's what you want with the guy that you're drafting in the top 15 to be the quarterback of your future. I just see Kyle Trask is going to end up being like a second round guy that somebody takes and develops and works. He's just like he's the mold that all the old guys love. This big, tall, bulky, not really toned quarterback that just he gets the job done, but he's not going to flash anything fantastic.
And Alec, I'm going to come to you. I really want to reiterate this because I feel like I keep making this comparison and people just aren't taking to it. So I'm just going to keep saying it until someone likes it eventually. Kyle Trask is Nick Foles. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that because Nick Foles has done a good job in spurts. I don't think that he's a long-term answer. I don't think he's a guy that you're going to pass on potentially getting a franchise quarterback for. Like, he doesn't strike that as me. He has phenomenal touch. He has extreme trust in what he sees. Absolutely. And Nick Foles, if there's anything Nick Foles does, when he sees it, he trusts it. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. I just don't see a great physical skill set with a guy like Kyle Trask.
Yeah, I can't justify Trask over Lance. I mean, when you're looking at quarterbacks, a key for me is always arm talent, and I just feel like Lance has got the ability to put the ball in any spot, whether he's obviously he can't put up the numbers because he only got one game this year, but Trask is a good prospect. I think that I end up coming off lower on him just because people get so high on him, but when you look at his arm and look at everything at the quarterback position, I don't see things that he can do that are above and beyond that can really put him into that like high level quarterback prospect. But like you said, I mean, Foles has made a great career, and if he could do something like that, I think that's exactly what you could look for from him. He's going to need development, though. I mean, like looking at Florida, he underthrows a whole bunch of balls. I mean, some balls he throws, I'm not even sure where he's throwing it to. He's got Kadarius Toney and Kyle Pitts. I just can't see. I can't see him getting to Lance's level.
I'm sorry, Alec. Ryan, stop killing the bit.
Jesse
is providing us with good content. No, but it's supposed to be funny on the back end, and then now but you can't project the code word.
I love it, man. It's
Jesse,
so
DM me what word you want me to do next. Let's see if Ryan can figure out what the word is. I actually had a funny point. I was going to use the word bubble. I want to wrap this. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Alex. I think you were just wrapping up your point anyways, but when it's all said and done, this is a guy that is going to get overhyped because of media attention and the armchair quarterbacks, the armchair head coaches that think that they know what it means to be a good quarterback just because they see that he's successful on his team. That doesn't always translate to success in the NFL. It's the same thing that as Ryan, you and I, we host a Notre Dame show. We're going to get a lot of people that say, well, why isn't Ian Book, a day 1 or day 2 quarterback? And even if we explain it, I think it's just one of those things
because he's not talented.
He's not big. He's small. He doesn't have a big arm. Like I don't mean to. We're not crapping on him. He is a fantastic college quarterback. It's okay to be a good college quarterback and then not translate to the NFL. I don't think that Ian Book's been very good. He's the best. He's the best improviser in college football. Am I right, Joe? He is, and I said that on the Locked On Syracuse show when I appeared on it.
I'm sure you did.
I mentioned how much you hate me for it. I'm gonna get to our next take here, and then I want to have my conversation about tight ends. And I want to piss off Ryan. I would like to hit on the one that our show, one of our social media managers that works with Alec, Zach Garton, he tweeted that Kwity Paye is edge 1. Also, no edge gets drafted till the 20s, but I'm probably going to be wrong on that one. There was also I want to read the other edge take that was in here. That was It was from Zach Thomas. He said Jason Oweh is edge 1, and then Rousseau drops out of the first round. I don't get that. I don't understand what the hate is on Rousseau when, again, he has this physical profile. He physically has something that nobody else in the class has. But technically speaking, he's not even close. Like he just has no idea what he's doing. But physically, his play strength and his ability to dominate with no technique is uncanny.
Well, you know what I think it is, honestly, and this is kind of what the Micah Parsons takes that get thrown out so often. A lot of draft Twitter specifically, and this is not as much in the scouting world, you need to be creative and you need to think about how a guy can potentially go to the next level and how you can use a player. We too often just pigeonhole a player. He's a defensive end. He's a linebacker. There's no imagination in the evaluation. I think that's what's missing with a guy like Gregory Rousseau. Is he the perfect edge fit in the world, playing 4-3 defensive end? No, he's not. Is he the perfect 3-4 defense outside linebacker, rush backer fit? He's not. But what he can do, and I compare him to Jason Pierre-Paul early on, and I still love that comparison. He can play up and down the line of scrimmage. He's never going to be the bendiest guy in the world, but you know what? He can win with straight line speed and length. He can absolutely win with those. So I feel like people just, he's not incredibly bendy. He's not this. He's not that. Why don't you imagine what he can be? Like, that is what you're supposed to do as an evaluator. Like, right. He could do this, and he could do that. And he can play up and down the line of scrimmage, and he can be a disruptive force. Now, to this take, though, I am more with Zach Thomas, Zach Patraw. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right because that's his actual name. Patraw, whatever. Okay.
I'm guessing.
Zach P. Zach's awesome. I'm more with his take on this than I am with our Zach, who is a great guy. No disrespect to Zach. But I could see a team taking a gamble on a guy like Jason Oweh, who's 6'5", 250 plus, who is going to run supposedly in the 4.3s or 4.4s. Yeah. Like, if you can imagine that, right? Somebody's going to take a gamble on that, and apparently Kwity Paye is going to blow the place up as well. I just don't like I like Kwity Paye, and if someone takes him in the first round, like I'll be fine with it. Like in the 20s, I think the 20s is a good spot for him. Maybe into the 30s, like that's a really good spot for me. He's not a high volume sack guy. I don't see that production coming. I see him being who's the outside linebacker from the Baltimore Ravens that's going to leave this offseason? Matt Judon. He's Matt Judon and maybe a little more twitchy version of Matt Judon, which is a good football player. That's not a negative in any world. But for me, I'm looking at Owe and saying, like, I could see someone preferring Owe over a guy like Gregory Rousseau. Now, as far as edge one, neither of them are going to be my edge one because Owe is incredibly raw still. He's improved this year for sure, but he's very raw. And I think that there is a notable floor for a guy like Kwity Paye, but I don't think Kwity Paye is this incredibly high ceiling sack guy. Like I don't see him being a 10 to 12 sack a year guy. Like I just don't see that. In the right situation, I think Greg Rousseau can be that. I think he can because I think that he can move inside. He can do things off the edge, and he is raw. And it's sort of like the conversation with Penny Sewell. Penny Sewell's not super raw, but like Greg Rousseau did all this stuff at 20 years old, first year starting at defensive end in college football. For me, I can look at that and I can project 2 years down the line and say, I can do something with that type of guy.
Alec, I want to hear your thoughts in just a quick second, but I just want to point out here, you bring up some good thoughts on some issues with evaluation we see from people. And again, this isn't us trying to say we know more than you, but I think a problem that we tend to encounter with some amateur evaluations are, it's like, well, okay, what have I seen this guy do? This is what he can do, and this is where he projects. When the reality of when you scout, it should be, what do I think this guy can become? You know, those first round guys are supposed to be players that have high ceilings and can become elite players, but also have, you know, traits to back it up that they can contribute right away. But the problem is, I think people get really hung up on are the guys that are productive right now, but might not have as much of a, or have already hit their ceiling and have already hit that peak of what they can actually become.
I think that's the same like Kyle Trask, Trey Lance comparison too, right? Like why would I take Kyle Trask in the first round when I can take, like, you're taking a gamble for sure, but like the dividends are going to be so much more if a guy like Trey Lance hits compared if Kyle Trask hits. Kyle Trask hits, he might be a serviceable player for a while, maybe not. If Trey Lance hits, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah. It's like that risk. Do you try to go for it? And I'm not comparing him to either of these guys, but I'm talking like in terms of like some hype. It's like, would you rather take the shot at getting Deshaun Watson, but risk getting Mitchell Trubisky, or would you rather roll out there with Daniel Jones? It's like it's like one of those things. So Alec, just to wrap up this take before I argue with Ryan about tight ends and the nuance of tight ends in the NFL draft.
Oh, the nuance. Got it.
Yeah, the nuance.
That's the buzzword. That's the
buzzword. What's Ryan's prize, Jesse? Because he figured it out. Alec, what are your thoughts on the edge conversation?
I mean, it's with Rousseau. It's just going to depend on your team's confidence in their coaching staff and their ability to develop talent. I mean, the talent is there for Rousseau. He's raw, but he's got basically, you know, what you would ask for. If you're going to make that argument though for Rousseau, I would say it has to be the same argument for Owe. He's definitely got a lot to develop on, but Owe is exciting to watch. I mean, he is explosive off the line of scrimmage. I like the Judon Kwity Paye comparison. I think that's kind of what you're looking for, and that's a great player in the league, someone who does pretty well week in, week out. So I personally would go with Rousseau, Paye, and then Owe, but I could definitely see a team grabbing Owe first, just based on pure, like, the excitement for his athleticism and then seeing the 2020 tape. But Rousseau, I mean, I'd love to just, you know, if I had a coach that we have confidence that he can develop someone, I'd much prefer Rousseau over anyone.
All right, so I want to piss off Ryan here, and I'm also want to hear what you think here, Alex. So here's my take on tight ends. I have gradually worked my way towards this over the past few years, and I'm pretty confident in this.
Oh, there's a lot of data to back this up. Got it.
There is. There's plenty of examples to prove my point here. Despite there being talent, in a tight end class, this year is an example of a very talented group. Brevin Jordan, Kyle Pitts, Pat Freiermuth. Despite that talent being there, I think that the tight end position is not one similar to running backs that you should not spend a top 15 to a top 20 pick on a tight end, because the examples that I can draw to are pretty clear and apparent that if your team is not strong offensively, that those guys typically don't have that strong of a role. I argue that a tight end is a nice thing to have, but it is not a necessity. You can get away with having an average tight end, but if you try to go and grab the most talented available tight end, it doesn't do that much for your offense. So the examples that I'm now pointing to, I see that you're already very perplexed. The examples I'm pointing to,
I'm just thinking.
TJ Hawkinson has looked okay, but he hasn't really fit what we've hoped from him in his second year. Noah Fant's been banged up. He showed some flashes early on this year. Not really what you would hope to get. The class that things get a lot worse is the OJ Howard class, which he didn't do anything.
That's what this is about.
The David Njoku class.
Stop.
Is
this
bad.
is what this is about. Evan Ingram hurt you. Evan Ingram hurt you.
No, I'm not done. I'm not done but that was an offense that needed, that was everyone thought was going to hit the ground running when you add Evan Ingram in. And so Evan Ingram has been the best of the group, but he's still not even up to the standard that everybody keeps saying every single year he's going to be. David Njoku has been nothing. He's contributed nothing to the mix. I mean, like Eric Ebron took him going to other teams for him to actually play up to the level that people expected, but for being a top 10 pick, to surpass 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns, I think that that's ridiculous that it took you this long to put up that type of production. So, I mean, I can keep looking through and pulling up some names, but those are the most notable ones that come to mind. Can you find an example of a guy with the first team that they went to, they had an immediate high-end quality impact? I think that this is a situation where it's starting to be clear, like it is with running backs. Do you really want to spend that pick on a guy that if you don't have everything else complete, he's not going to really do that much? There's so many misses is my point.
I have a lot of thoughts. Alec, do you want to add anything in before I speak? I don't know.
I mean, I just think, like, I don't know. I was a big fan of Fant and Hawkinson coming out. I'm a big fan of Pitts and Freiermuth. I would draft them in the top 20, realistically. I think I get what you're saying, though, for sure. I mean, if your team's got holes at like the top tier positions, like, tackle or an edge rusher or a corner, probably makes more sense to take one there, and you can develop tight ends if you do it right. I mean, Kittle was a 4th round pick, I think.
Right. And that's my other point, is that most of the successful top quality tight ends in the NFL right now, none of them are 1st round picks.
Right. I mean, I think I could be wrong, but I was pretty young when Kelsey came out, but I think he fell more because of 5th rounder. Didn't he fall more because of off the field issues though?
Yes. No, he was I don't think that was the big thing. He was a former quarterback, and then he only played tight end a couple years.
Okay. Didn't he have like an injury history though, or something like that? I forget what it was.
May have. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think if the guy's got talent, like there's no reason to shy away from taking him that early. But if there's other holes, I don't think it's the most important position in football. I would rather you take I'd personally rather take a wide receiver at that point. I think I was. When did he come out?
I don't know. We have to look that up.
Alec, how young are you?
I'm 21.
Oh, you're only a year younger than me?
Yeah, no, not that much of a difference.
No. You were not 6 when when Kelsey came out. You were not 6. I remember when he came out.
In like year 8?
Wait, what?
Yes.
Yeah, he's like year 8.
I think it's 8. Yeah, probably.
I was roaming around middle school or something like that.
13. So you were probably in 7th grade, I would say, by teaching acumen here. All right. So my response, Joe, are you ready for this? All right. 1, My first question is just you can just make it a yes or no. You don't even have to put like too much context into it. Would you take
Okay.
a wide receiver in the top 20?
See, the problem is I'm also slowly moving away from not wanting to take receivers in the top 20 unless they're like I would say unless a guy is like a very high end talent like we had with Judy and with Ruggs and with CeeDee Lamb. I just don't. I think that those guys, that's another position group that's extremely hit or miss.
So my thing is here, okay? You had some great points. I will admit to this, okay? Because you're right.
That's a
George
first.
Kittle was only a fourth. Sorry, I'm just looking at Jesse's comments because they're always so funny.
Very quality.
Yes, very
I think
quality.
we should bring him on next time we do this.
Jesse, you're invited to the next live stream for sure. So you're right. George Kittle was a 4th round pick. Travis Kelce, I Bleav, was a 5th or 6th, somewhere in that range. Darren Waller was a former wide receiver in college. So, he wasn't even a tight end by trade at Georgia Tech, right? So I get it. You definitely have some recent data to provide your point, okay? But what I would say here is I'm specifically thinking about a guy like Kyle Pitts, okay? Because Kyle Pitts isn't like it again, we're pigeonholing guys. Is he a tight end? Is he just a tight end?
I don't think he is.
So
I don't
wide
think so either.
receiver, slot receiver, tight end, all in one. That's not worth a top 20 pick in a league that is making its living off of passing. Like he can do anything for you at all times.
Yeah, like Pitts is the only one it's hard for me to make an argument against. But I think that the hype surrounding also Freiermuth and Brevin Jordan, I don't think that those guys are worthy of.
Brevin Jordan's not going top 20, so you don't have to worry about that.
Well, I mean, there were some people that were very
Miami fans, Hurricane fans.
very smitten with him.
Yes,
I get that. Kyle Pitts is an oddity. When you have I would look at it as if you have a guy that does more than just play, the typical stereotypical role of the position. When you have guys that play outside of that structure and can do a lot of things, I think those are exceptions. Those are not the
I'm sorry.
The rule.
Sorry.
Wait, what did he say?
He's making fun of your jug, I think.
Well, yeah, we're only allowed jugs on the show, so you can't drink out of anything else.
Oh, that was sorry. That was just so funny for me. I'm sorry, Joe. What was your point?
No, do you have anything else to add? I'm just saying that I think he's an exception to the rule.
Well, then the exception, then your whole take is off. Then, right? If there's an exception,
there can be exceptions to any rule. It's just like
come on, man.
It's just like you're not supposed to take a quarterback who's 5'9", but Kyler Murray's the exception.
Kyler Murray's not 5'9", 5'10" and 5'10" or something, right?
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. We're getting analytical here. We're getting analytical, so I'm giving you the real.
Those couple inches are really, would you still take a 5'10" quarterback typically?
If he's good.
So that's an exception. You said if. If implies exception.
Oh, you're getting so. Oh no! I'm not.
Don't argue with me, Ryan. I will break you down.
I'm not letting this happen on my podcast. Okay, this
your podcast.
My podcast.
Don't forget who can.
I feel like this argument happens every week.
All right, we're at 33 minutes here, so let's end with this one. Ready? I'm going to pose this last one to you. It's another quarterback take. Okay, this is from Eric Adams, which is at the fantasy DFF_taters, which is the greatest handle probably in the history of Twitter, by the way. Okay, so he says Zach Wilson should be drafted no later than 3rd overall. Alec, let's start with you. I feel like we haven't started with you. Zach Wilson should be drafted no later than 3rd overall in the 2021 cycle.
Well, by saying that, you would have to be implying that he should be drafted over Lance or Fields or Lawrence. So in that sense, I'm absolutely not taking it. I think Wilson is an excellent prospect. I saw a couple of tweets that were like comparing Wilson to Mahomes, and like I guess like footwork problems you might be able to compare them, but otherwise there was like zero comparison in my eyes. I can't take him top 3. Now, the one thing I can say though is your offense can run, like if you're running certain schemes that maybe you would want more of a Wilson type passer. I could see some teams maybe favoring the Wilson type prospect over a Lance or a Field. But if I was a GM, I don't see anything in I don't see enough in Wilson to put him over those, but I would say that he's definitely like concrete my QB4 right now, and I would be okay with taking him top half of the first round. I just can't take him over one of those three.
So I'm just going to throw my take, and then I actually have to scoot because I have to do the get to the point stream. Sean's keeping me on a short leash, apparently. If you look at the current top order of the draft, the top 2 picks need quarterbacks. Besides that, though, you go Cincinnati, you go Dallas, you go the Chargers, you go Philadelphia. Maybe Carolina is that first team that needs a quarterback, but unless somebody trades up, that's not going to happen. No, Wilson's not going to go that high. There are not that many quarterback needy teams drafting early. Most of the quarterback needy teams have an established veteran that are in the playoffs. Like the Saints,
Right.
the Steelers. I can't even think of another example off the top of my head, but like they're not going to be in drafting range of grabbing Wilson. I can see a Panthers team, a Washington-like team that takes him
49ers.
at 7. Yeah, 49ers that maybe moves up to take him at 7, but nobody's going to mortgage that much of their future when we can assume what the next run is going to be is probably going to be Sewell, then Parsons, then maybe Rousseau. There's a lot of players in that mix that are going to get taken before him, which I think that a lot of teams are going to be just hoping that happens.
Right. And we're going to wrap it up with just my final response.
Mm-hmm.
I think that so I'm still not on the Wilson quarterback 3 train to start with. So like that obviously throws a wrench into that conversation just to begin with. Because, if you're picking 3rd, then obviously naturally, I would say also, has that ever happened where the first 3 picks were quarterbacks back to back to back? And then also, if Cincinnati's picking at 3, then I know there's like that conversation of like, oh, do they draft the quarterback? No, you don't draft the quarterback. You take Penei Sewell, and then when Joe Burrow comes back, you protect him. That's the conversation. So no, I'm all out on Zach Wilson. We thank you all for tuning in with us today. Bleav in NFL Draft Prospect Hot Take Edition. Be sure to check out our podcast released Tuesdays on any and all podcast network. Why can't I talk? Any podcast platform that you use, please go on there. We also have the Thursday shows where we have the interviews with top NFL draft prospects for the 2021 NFL Draft and beyond. Joe DeLeon, Alec Polito, Ryan Roberts signing out. Thank you all.